assassinated. It's still a mystery, isn't it? Yeah. It's very strange. Yeah. We don't understand everything about it.
Yeah. Well, I was very much with you because on 9/11 I was on the East Coast,
yeah,
and my daughter was in the air from the East Coast to the West Coast, so I didn't know so I had to handle the same thing.
Yeah, the not knowing is very potent, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't know for 3.5 or 4 hours.
Yes.
And
I think that kicked a lot of people into a space they hadn't been in for a long, long time.
Yeah.
It certainly did me, yeah.
So I teach stress management, so I used EFT and all my stress management tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. One thing I didn't say was I had to make a decision whether I should treat Tanya myself or whether I should call on Steve Wells to help me out. And I felt okay about it. I wasn't 100% okay, but knowing her so well, I thought this will work out. It isn't really an intimate or a personal event for her. It's something that came in from the outside, and we could deal with it as a group. My other daughters, other 3 daughters, a couple of them did a little bit of tapping, especially when they watched the TV, but I think the combination of having Tanya back home and knowing that the other was a long way away somehow got them, they were okay about it. But I can't say that for sure because I haven't really asked them in depth. Question? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, my question has to do with, well, I'll use the word guilt. I've worked with lots of trauma victims, I guess I'll call them that. And even beyond people I've worked with, it's so common for the people who didn't die to have those feelings of why me, and then to feel bad about it. I have a feeling your daughter is probably so well adjusted it might not have been there for her, but I'm curious as to whether you needed to work with that element for her, the fact that she survived when so many others did not.
That did not come up at all for her, not a bit. In fact, very quickly she was really enjoying life again. And I thought that was a great response myself. You know, she said in her interview with the paper that she doesn't want to live her life hiding under a rock. She doesn't want to let this change her life. I think that's pretty appropriate.
Yeah, very highly.
And there's something about that guilt that means now you shouldn't enjoy yourself. Yeah. Like at funerals, you should be sad. Boy, some of the funerals I've been to, I'd like to go back, you know. Deborah.
I have a similar experience, and I really want to reinforce your experience. After 9/11, I worked at the Pentagon and then on Wall Street for a number of weeks.
Yep.
I'm a critical incident stress debriefer, and I have to follow a very specific
Oh, yeah. I've read your excellent post on Gary's list.
Yes, well, thank you. But there's a specific protocol. It's a 7-step protocol. It takes about 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
And according to my contracts with at least one of the crisis management companies that sent me to Wall Street and also to the Pentagon, it specifically says in the contract, don't try any of these more innovative techniques. Just do this 7-step protocol. Well, I could see that it was helping, but I also saw people getting more and more riled up about other things. So I said, well, we're going to go through this process, but there's a little relaxation technique I'd like you to know about. So while you're talking, just do what I'm doing.
Sneaky.
And for 2 hours, 3 hours, this is all we did.
You're legend.
And people just felt so much better. But they told their story, and I followed my contract. I never said, even though. Not once.
Thank God you stuck to the letter of the law.
Oh. Well, that's something I should tap for.
I think you did well. Yeah. All right. Other comments, free associations? No. In the third part of this talk, I'm going to, as I said, give my overview about trauma, but the more I work with trauma, the more simply I like to work. It's so tempting to think that it's got to be complex and multi-level and what have you, and it is. But I need a simple method so I can focus on that person, so I can do the relational work, which I think is the most important part. You need to have a tremendously good rapport and connection and safe, secure place to do this kind of work. And if you haven't got that, don't do it. So that also requires a lot of grounding and centeredness in the therapist. You're going to hear stuff you don't want to hear. That's why you tap along. I remember the bad old days when I didn't know some of these modern techniques, and I did not look forward to working with people with these kind of troubles. Did not look forward to it, for good reason. 2 or 3 of them in the day, you'd be absolutely wiped out. And having used EMDR for many years, I did 1 and 2 level with Francine Shapiro. I'll just do my Francine Shapiro imitation. She's really great. I've never met too many guys who stand like that, but she really showed them how to do it. It's good stuff. EMDR works. It's fantastic. That's the first time I started having really good results. But it was tiring. It was a very bumpy ride for me, very bumpy ride for the client. And for that reason, I really prefer EFT. I'm not down on EMDR. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And she's got some excellent protocols, which I'll mention briefly a bit later on. In brief, her model of accelerated information processing by using rapid eye movement is wonderful. The fact that meridian stimulation will do this more gently and naturally and easily, I think, is the saving grace. Isn't it marvellous to think that something is so simple and easy to use and actually kind of idiot-proof? You can hardly put a foot wrong. All the elegance of it is finding the right lever, finding the right place, finding the right belief system. And that comes with experience. But isn't it marvellous to think that such a simple technique, and it really is simple, especially the way Gary has put it out, can have such huge results? Why don't people know this? What is wrong with the... God, if you discovered an anti-gravity machine, you'd never hear the end of it. Why is it that meridian stimulation isn't really spreading through my profession or any other profession very rapidly? I think it's going to come through the back door, through the people. Rahana.
Hi, Dave. I just wanted to share with you, you already know about the accident that I had.
Please do. This is a great story. Thank you.
On March the 11th, a truck ran into my car, and you might have read about it on Gary's post. And so I was able to tap immediately and just run the movie in my mind, and it was so immediate. And I was able to drive the next day without any upsets of any sort. But what I want to share with you is what I didn't put on Gary's site was my friend was visiting from LA, and we were having a discussion about angels. Now, he's a Christian, I'm a non-Christian, and so we were debating. Are there angels? Are they guardians? Do they come in long white dresses with, so I was actually making light of it. And the accident happened like about half an hour after. Did I get my answer or what?
You got it.
And it's a great technique anyway. And thank you, Gary, for bringing it out to us.
Yeah, I think Gary's... Yeah, thank you. Yeah. What's your first name?
John.
Thank you, John.
A couple of years ago, I was a deputy sheriff with Arapahoe County, Colorado. I was involved in a shooting incident where one of the individuals who was shot at was my partner.
Right.
Law enforcement is not open to a lot of alternates,
Yeah.
and the agency isn't either. So 15 minutes after the incident occurred, the individual who was shot at was sitting in his unit, and with nobody looking, I tapped him out of it, and he didn't know what was going on. You just don't bring that up.
Do you want to tap a little bit while you're telling?
I tried that over there. It wasn't doing something.
Won't do any harm.
Yeah, but it's the first time I told anybody about this.
Yeah.
You don't bring it up in law enforcement.
No. Although they really need it, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tap on your cheek a little bit. So you saved him months of suffering.
Well, I think must have, because I read his report that he wrote within 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
And it was the clearest, most concise, and accurate report I've ever read.
You cured his learning difficulty as well.
Well, he was an ex-Marine.
Ex-Marine.
Right, so he used 3-letter words.
Thank you, John.
I have a question for you.
Yep, question?
This relates to his story. In my hometown, there was a horrible auto accident where some decapitations occurred. And I work in the hospital in OB, but I know the emergency personnel. And what happened when they arrived by helicopter at the scene was that the emergency room physician got out of the chopper, looked at the scene, and promptly threw up. So I knew he was not available to be his best at that point. So I said, wow, this is where EFT would be very helpful. If he knew that, he could have tapped himself down and been much more available to the victims, along with the other emergency personnel. So I went to the chief of police, who I know quite well. I went to the city manager. I went to the ER nurses and doctors and tried to get this in and have drawn sounds like maybe we should do that. And I've gotten nowhere. Do you have any suggestions?
I'd be kidding if I said yes. I've tried the same thing.
Yeah.
Look, most pioneers have been run out of town and tarred and feathered. I mean, I don't fancy that. I really think it's going to come through the people.
Okay.
Keep trying.
And I am teaching the townspeople and clients
Go ahead.
and so on. So,
That becomes like an overwhelming pressure eventually.
okay.
And then group pressure will do the job, in my opinion.
Okay, thanks.
My hair used to be brown before I started working in emergency room, and after the birth of my 4th daughter, it went shocking white and never changed. So I wish I'd known EFT then. Okay, I make it 20 past 12. Oh, one more. Make it a quickie.
Yes, it is quick.
Hey?
I'm
All right, I'm on Sydney time.
training myself to do the tapping for the victims, wherever the victim shows up on TV. So I tap for them whether they like it or not. I don't know if it helps them, but it certainly is something that I can do,
Yes.
and it serves me. And it's my intention that it serve them.
I think that's a very good intention. Thank you. All right, it's 20 past. We meet back in here at 25 before. Is that how you say it in America? Well, we're going to have a session of working with a volunteer for trauma. We have Ree, who has volunteered. Thank you.
Emma, word.
Say testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2,
No,
3.
just normally.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Now, during this kind of work, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't talk at all. You can laugh, you can cry, you can move around a little bit, but not walk, please. It's very distracting. So no talking, no chatting till after. We'll have plenty of time for questions and what have you. I'd like you very much to do some tapping if you wish. Say that to everybody. I think it's very important, actually. So do we have our contract? Everybody say yes? Yes. Good. How do you feel?
Tight.
So we had a bit of a, just tap here for a minute. We had a bit of a chat in the lobby for about 10 minutes, didn't we? Yeah. You were telling me the details of what happened, but we didn't go right into it. Why don't you pretend I know nothing about this and tell me what you'd like to work on?
I guess
Just let me borrow your hand for a minute. Off you go.
the first thing I want to say is,
Just to me.
Cindy, this one's for you too.
Yeah. Cindy is your daughter.
So, I have a number of daughters, and some sons, and I have 3 by natural birth. And my youngest was diagnosed at age 37 with CML.
Chronic myeloid leukemia.
And the oldest daughter was a natural perfect match. So she got a bone marrow transplant.
She was the match for her sister.
Right.
Wow.
Perfect match. 7. Related match, and they call it. And when the diagnosis came in, Cindy called me and asked if I would be her primary caretaker in the hospital.
Look after her.
There's so much, the nurses are so overtaxed, the doctors are so overworked that they'll use almost any live, warm body. So I told her that I would. And that took 2.5 months. And then I flew back and forth from Florida to Virginia every time she was in the
Just tap on your little finger point with your thumb. Yeah. Just rest your hand on your lap.
hospital for over 24 hours.
Yep. Keep tapping.
And she thought, and I thought she was going to make it.
But you didn't.
No, 3 years
Were you there?
was the struggle. And
Were you there at the end?
I can hear you.
Were you there at the end?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
So when you just said a minute ago, this one's for you, what did you mean?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's my Aussie accent. When you said, this one's for you, when you sat down,
Well, she was very, very bright.
Yep.
And she could follow her process. All the tubes and the IVs, she could track 18 lines
wow.
and tell a nurse when they had made an error. And eventually she couldn't do that. She couldn't fight any longer.
Yep. Got tired.
It's like losing your butt degrees.
How's that feeling in your chest?
It's through here right now.
Okay, you focus on that. Just focus on that. I'm going to do what Gary does. You wait there.
And I
Keep talking.
heard, I mean, I'm trained, I know, I couldn't fool myself. And when she went from going to get well to going out of here, I heard it.
In what way?
I heard the change in her
Yep.
sentences. I heard the focus change. And I kept saying, please, God, don't let this be what I think it is.
But it was.
But it was. I knew, I think before she knew. You know, Mom, will you? The nurse wanted to wash her, shampoo her hair, and she said, Mom, will you do it? And it was like, please God, don't let this be what I think it is, and it was.
It was, yeah.
It's the tiny little things that I'm trained to listen for.
Did you know and she didn't know?
Yes,
Yeah.
I had to tell her.
They were keeping it from her?
Anybody doesn't, oh God, they don't know about processing death, or most don't. So my role changed from what a caretaker's, you know, has to be positive, has to be up, has to be.
Leukemia is not a very up disease.
No.
Must have been a bit of
He
a strain.
just transition out of here.
Well,
Death is
for
not
some
the
people.
easiest thing to deal with.
Was it like part of you died as well?
Oh, Jesus, Lord. We've been so close. And after I told her how seriously ill she was,
Yep.
she went under. And when she came up, she said, I feel like I just woke up.
Ah, woke up to the truth.
And she went under the anesthesia again. And when she came up the next time, she said, things are moving so fast.
Mm.
I mean, from the moment I told her, she just couldn't.
Keep breathing. It's not fair, is it? You're supposed to die first. Keep breathing.
We were supposed to do this together.
You were going to go with her? Really? Die together? Serious?
Beat the cancer.
Oh. But am I right too?
Jesus.
What?
And before anybody could almost catch their breath, 9/11 happened, and it was like all these people. She got buried under all these people.
She got lost.
9/11 was so huge.
Just tap on your little finger point.
So unbelievable. It's like
With your thumb.
they jumped and they fell
Like
on
this.
her too.
Like that. So everyone else is crying and what, you're not allowed to? Or you're not allowed to cry, but everybody else is crying?
Oh yeah, I cried, but it was it's like it was just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
How do you cry for 3,000 people?
Who would you have preferred to cry for?
And so I attempted to stay with her, you know, what I was dealing with, and you know, I was dealing with all of it, really. If I could have gone to New York, if I could have gone to Washington, that would have helped, and I wasn't physically able. I wasn't able. I couldn't have done any more.
I think Gary gets these wholesale. Gary gets these for wholesale. You can have more than one.
One for each hand.
Are you hearing my voice okay?
Sometimes.
Okay, do you have a bit of a hearing problem?
Well, with all this moisture in my head, my tubes, the ear tubes close and not open.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm hearing you now. I'm hearing me now.
All right. You feeling hot?
That I'm feeling, I guess, is I'm okay.
I was talking to you a minute ago and I made a mistake. I was talking to you and I made a mistake. I thought you said that you wanted to die with her. But I'm wondering if I made a mistake.
I did want to go with her, and no, you didn't make a mistake. I knew that I wanted to go with her. And I recognized signs in me that were bothering me, that I was still wanting to go out of here.
Is that something you wanted to do before, like
well,
before she got
with
sick?
her again.
Of course, yeah.
And
Do you think of her, do you speak to her now?
I-
Do you speak to her now? Do you speak to Cindy?
I'm sorry, I'm just not able to hear.
Do you speak to Cindy now, your daughter? Do you speak to her?
I haven't in a long time, not until tonight, what I said.
Yeah.
I had not spoken to her since the memorial service. And
What did you say at the service?
I spoke at the service, and that's when the grief and the joy merged. And I didn't know whether I could speak or not. And when the time came, and the audience was asked, does somebody want to say something? I heard Cindy say to me, "Okay, Ree," she normally called me Mom. But when I got ready to stand up, I heard her say, "Okay, Ree, how are you going to handle this one?" And in that moment, I knew.
You could do it.
And as I spoke about her life, and her transition, the joy and the sadness merged. I'm not able to get that to happen. Yeah. And there was another gestalt, and there was joy beyond all imagination. I wanted to laugh and jump and skip. And the townspeople would have thought I was out of my mind if I had done what I felt like doing.
They probably think that already.
They may have. The doctors kind of looked a little strange when I said some things to them.
And you're in the helping profession, you told me.
God, my head, Jesus.
What's happening?
See, I had heard about tapping. I had heard about Callahan about the time of the diagnosis, and a colleague from New York had introduced me to it, but I didn't have time to go off and study that. And so I didn't have tapping at that time to help. What a journey.
Where did the journey begin for you?
When did the journey begin?
For
sorry,
you.
David.
That's okay. When did the journey begin for you? The helping journey.
Well, at that moment I was thinking about her cancer.
Sure.
I guess the journey began to me for me when the first fetus moved. It's my hunch.
The first.
Fetus moved.
Oh yeah. So you're going to. What was your role in your mind for your children? How did you see yourself?
Well, I was to teach them how to make it in the world.
Yeah. And how did you go? Did you do that? No. Okay.